the house in a moment. So I figured I was gonna get on here and just yap and cap while I stroll down the street a little bit. Okay, that turned the camera on. So, I was just scrolling through, not scrolling through majorly, but just looking at a variety of different things. Over the last little bit of time, I've actually collected some screenshots and stuff to put on here. Um, this went down yesterday. We all knew France was going to get the dub and get them up out of there. But, alas, it went down the way that it did and it happened, which would be pretty interesting. Mm, right. I mean, let me just talk about that, right? Instead of playing the game. This would be a perfect fucking picture, too. I look so sleepy. You could tell I just woke up. Um, so I think right now we in a very, very interesting like time and moment, whatever the fuck you want to call it, however people want to break it down and see it. You feel me? Whereas we seeing like so much shit play out and all this shit around the world. And I think at times, like obviously people don't care because they caught up in the fucking rat race. We all are, right? But if we ever do take time to like see how very simply things play out and really call a spade, right? In contrast to what I think like we live in a day and age in an era where a lot of people kind of they benefit from it not being about them at the time, so it don't matter as much. And I think that's kind of something that doesn't really benefit anybody on earth. Doesn't really benefit most people as much as most people believe that it benefits them because it's really more so like a progress bar, right? Like a game, or whatever you want to call it, more than it ever is, you know, absolute. And well, that's them and won't be us. It's really more so how long does it take for us to get the consistency and the norm of doing whatever it is we doing to these people over here to become something that we do to other people in another place, right? And so, we got this constant observation of what's going on in Palestine and what's going on with Israel and Gaza. And right now, that's such a major topic all the time. It is, but it's not because it's truly about who decides that it matters to them or that holds weight to them or they resonate with that level of empathy about what is going on. But I feel like I've kind of started to observe that, like, maybe part of the reason why this is now continued on even more and it's gotten even worse also is because it's not actually been a lack of tolerance for the hate. That's cool. A lack of tolerance for doing people wrong and being foul to your fellow man, right? And the reason why I bring that up and the reason why I say that is because I think like eventually we probably get to a point where it's true. It's damn true. And what I mean by that is I think we're in an era and a time right now where it's like so much of the wrong that we see is set in stone, but nobody has actually stepped up against the wrong. And based on how things continue to change now, and technology fits in, and people fit in, history and time, respectively, based on how like all those things kind of go into it. Overall, I think you do have, you know, also the element of people haven't been so used to what's going on that they so used to now not doing nothing about it. It's always somebody else's responsibility to do something, right? It's kind of like a dirty house or a dirty room with a sibling, right? I grew up, me and my little sister shared a room as kids, and I would make my little mess as a kid, and she prospectively have her little mess as a kid. But when it came time to clean up, my mom would be like, "Hey man, y'all need to clean this mess up." Well, if when the time came and it was time to clean that mess up, if little sis was like, well, he need to clean up his side, and I'm like, well, little sis need to clean up her side. And for one, for example, my mom just walked off and never applied the realness and the responsibility of, well, at the very least, you're responsible for your shit, and she's responsible for her shit. Well, then the room will just continue to get dirtier and dirtier because I'm waiting on her to do something and she waiting on me to do something, right? But then again, in the contrast, it's like that responsibility comes with, well, hey, look, at the least to look at it like checks and balances prospectively, right? Maybe at the least, even if it's not actually that, even if it's just something that factors in and it's just, a force, right? One thing forces another thing to happen, so to speak, right? Catalyst of a force, you would call it. Then that again, like, well, fine, Zachary, you don't clean up your room, your stuff specifically at the least, nor do you actually just clean up this room in general, period, because it's simple to clean up in general, period. Well, then again, you gonna get punished too. You can't go outside too. You can't go do nothing either. Moral of where it is I'm going, stay with me now. Is again like when it comes down to it, that's one of the biggest problems with everything in this world. It's that's their problem. It's that's their problem. It's that's their problem. Our whole room dirty at this point. Our whole house is dirty at this point. Our whole yard is dirty at this point. But what's the bigger problem is now we running into a dynamic where the house and the yard getting worse and worse and worse because we sitting there waiting on the other person to do something. So we'll never do it. Now I don't got no time to do it, but to never actually turn around and do it. Why? Because well, the other person needs to. And so again, like I think when we look at it now, like I was just watching this clip, and let me see if I can throw the screen cap in there for you. I was just watching this story that they were telling on Al Jazeera. And so this was talking about the United Nations, Britain, um, various embassy leaders and shit like that for England, and how in the process of what has been going on over there, you've seen a lack of support for those that are on the missions to give aid. You've seen a lack of accountability called into place, and Israel not being held accountable for what they're not just doing to the people of Gaza, but also to just people from what the lady said, for example, in the interview is Western countries, for example, and actually turning around and being like, "Nah, man, y'all fucked our people up when they came over there to give aid. Aid is an international right to everybody, and other people have a right to give aid. I can see if you're persecuting people who coming in, for example, from other countries that moved out of Palestine and Gaza and these places to come in and help. If y'all are skeptical against them, all right, understandable. But turning around and treating just people that is coming from this place and that place who may oppose what y'all are doing like this is not um, sanctioned. Basically, that's not right. Well, instead of it being a factor of that actually mattering and then being held accountable for it, you're not seeing that. You're seeing at times people say, well, if Israel is carrying out crimes against humanity, if they are breaking international law and all of these things, I can't find the proper phrasing. But if they're doing all of this, well, it's up to them to really look through that and acknowledge whether or not they did that or not. Now, we grown, we all adults, little children, young people who may see this in the future, y'all gonna end up being adults too as well, all on your own. But the reality of it is that that's one of the biggest things. And again, like I said, it's kind of one of the biggest problems we running into just in this day and age and in this world is that again, you're seeing a lot of people and you're seeing a lot of dynamics existing and kind of going on where you don't have to be accountable for the bullshit that you keep never putting on. You don't have to be accountable for the way in which you kind of affect people, and not even kind of affect people the way that you actually affect people. And I think that's so freaking major in the grand scheme of the whole thing when you look at it, because at the end of the day, like For you to be able to just have to acknowledge if you choose, if you look at it that way, to be able to acknowledge like, oh yeah, no, that shit fucked up, that's wrong. I think that's a very unfair precedent to activate against other people, right? I'm big on the term. I've been big on the term and the phrasing, the thought police, for example. And for me, I believe we've now grown to see like, dang, that's a real thing. Like, it's really a group of people that exist on this world and exist, and they kind of control what we think or how we see things and shit like that. And it don't feel good to kind of observe it and to acknowledge it and to admit it. But even moreover, it's sad to turn around and see how that is now being used in a day and age where we can kind of see what it is going on. We can call a spade, and we got the common sense enough to understand what's going on. But to see them use the ability to try and manipulate thought and compassion and empathy is sad, it's disgusting, it's horrible. And then within that, to give them the freedom and the opportunity to choose to decide if they'll acknowledge that the way in which they've gone about this has been harmful against another group of people, as if it's not been detrimental, horrific, and not also been documented at the highest level in the history of the world. This is probably the most documented genocide and most gruesome uh, use of military force in the genocide versus a group of people who truly, strategically have no way of actually doing anything back that is impactful. That probably doesn't affect also the greater world. And that's again like by creating an environmental catastrophe based on some type of, you know, attack or something like that. Like they have to do something that would affect the globe over, so to speak, on some like basically like last chance, last option shit. So I think that's fucking crazy that you would look at it and again like leave it up to the people with the most power to determine essentially if wrong is or isn't being done, right? And so again, like I think the sad part about it is what is another point that I just base morality around. Do you feel empathy and compassion for these people and what they're going through? Yes. But again, like I said, the problem also is what it is we seeing in this world right now is the ability to want that acknowledgement and that support, but never to go and to take the steps to authentically acknowledge and authentically welcome in with open arms those other people from those, you know, sources of oppression, we'll call it, or those other people that exist in a dynamic very similarly to yours. And what I mean is I think historically over the course of our lives, right, over the course of our lifetimes, right, over the course of the echoes of our generational lifetimes and our families lineage, right, meaning again of over the last 80 years, so right, going back to where majority of folks grandparents is or are age, excuse me, um you have not seen an authentic acknowledgement of you my brother, you my sister, you my sister, you my brother, you my brother. We in this. We family. We mutual, mutually going through this journey, mutually going through this experience. You don't really see that on both ends. Fuck it. I won't just put it to just one side in particular or one group of people in particular, right? I think it kind of falls on everybody. Uh, the reality that again, like you're not seeing as many folks really step to and acknowledge that we going through the same similar plight. What it is y'all are up against as far as the level of tyranny is the same thing we going against as far as the level of tyranny. And what I mean is, it's not even starting with just saying black people, right? The descendants of slaves left behind in America, tools for the benefit of building up a country that was a place of exiles and don't wants, so to speak, right? Who couldn't handle and do that work themselves. But on the contrast to the other end, right? To turn around and to look at it and to be like, man, the Native Americans and those that are considered Palestinian, right? Man, look at that parallel. Wow, look at that parallel. Look at how similar those journeys are. Continental Africans and Black Africans, right? I'm not even gonna go to Native Americans and Black people, or like I said, for example, people in Palestine and Gaza, for example, people of a variety of Muslim faith and Black Americans, right? But again, commonality that you see is a very, very crazy divide, whether it's far and abroad or it's domestic, within the understanding that we are actually in this journey and this struggle together. Us getting together and seeing each other and cross paths should be looked at as a moment where we lock arms, not as a moment where I compare myself to you and I look you up and wow, it worked. That's cool, right? Oh, I lost like I feel like I lost a minute. But again, they don't look at it like having risen and get gotten to the place and you on the other side, right? Are an example in a sight of rising above the oppression and being able to sustain and maintain. Let's bring these things together and actually create a fucking explosion in the fire of overcoming and uplifting and success. It's oftentimes looked at like, oh, okay, you less than me. Oh, you weak. You this, you that. Like I just watched this video the other day and it was very, very interesting. It was a man who I believe was Cuban or Puerto Rican, and they were asking him about his ethnic perspective, basically. And he was saying like, oh, well, no, we don't consider ourselves black. Um, you know, people say that, but realistically, like I know that when I go over here and I cross paths with white folks look at me and they feel like I'm a nigga. I know I'm a nigga. I know I'm black. But the contrast in that is yeah, you may feel that way there. And again, finishing it by saying like, yeah, the difference between us and you is that you didn't do anything or you don't do anything. You guys didn't fight for whatever it is you desire. You guys didn't necessarily fight to put yourselves in position to get underneath from the oppression. And it's like, well, I think that's a contrasted, that's a conflicted statement because that's never been true. That's only been something that people want to believe because it makes them feel better. Back to what it is I was saying, in contrast to the black folks, right? What I understand and I believe, at least in my perspective, is that there's nobody's struggle is better than the other. Nobody's struggle is more than the other. Nobody's struggle is worth more than the other. Oh yeah, I can go redeem my struggle, and my struggle redeems for more tokens than your struggle does. What I done been through, makes me stronger because I done went through this in contrast to you or what it is you did or didn't go through. Not to say that again, the experiences, the learns, the lessons, the levels of life that we go through definitely define us and they definitely shape us and make us better. But mine doesn't make me better than you and yours doesn't make you better than me. Realistically, we just both come in with an ability to expound on where it is we're trying to get to and what it is we're trying to get away from, so to speak, or what it is we're trying to build towards. But I think that's it. So many people look at the plight or the journey or the struggle, for example, of Black Americans or Black citizens in America that are not of um, immigrant lineage or descent or whatever it is you want to call it. They actually look at our journey and our process and our path oftentimes as lesser. And I think that within that, that's a failing on all of us as people, but also a failing on so many of the things that are going on in the world when you can look at somebody else's experience and their journey and their struggle and you don't take anything of value from it, you just take weakness from it because you want to use it to build up yourself. It's kind of a disappointing thing. It's kind of sad. It's kind of unfortunate to turn around and see realistically because again, like Vinity values the lessons learned from your journey and your struggle. And I think that's kind of the era that we're in today, right? We're in a day and age and we're in an era where now you see that over the course of various cultures, like it's really more so about our struggle is now about how do we use what we know about all these parts of the journey and all these parts of the process to actually put ourselves in position to succeed, to do better, and to actually like get to that next spot. That's always what I thought it would be about, right? It's like as a fan of sports, you watch sports and you see that over the course of the history of time, especially in the sport that I love the most, like sport like football, you grow to learn and to understand the kinds of things that are necessary and needed in order to be better than the mistakes of the past. And to also to do those things and to train at those things and to catalyze those things, to have those things be as important as the now is to pay attention and to acknowledge the things of the then that'll be part of your downfall and the reason why you don't succeed as much, right? The reason why you fail. Well, again, if they're coming in with a running back who's rushed for 2,000 yards the last two seasons and is on the verge of 2,000 yards this season, and none of their receivers have had over 100 yards the last 2 years, and teams still be loading up against those receivers, well, I don't think we need to be concerned with the receivers beating us over the top. We need to be concerned about them, but we don't need to be concerned about them beating us over the top because, again, very, very clearly, this group of people has come in with one ideology and one thought process, and this is how they succeed. If we don't acknowledge that, and we don't acknowledge again what has been the part of the process for them to get here to succeed, and usually it goes deeper than just okay, what they've been doing the last 2 years. Let's go look at the coach, who's running the team. Let's and again like the idea that instead of looking at it and looking at everything within what it is and saying, okay, well, you got your things about you and I got my thing about me, looking at the entirety of the organization of everything and saying, okay, well, all of these things make up this dynamic. Like I said, it keep cutting off, so I don't know exactly at what point it cut off just now. But again, moreover, just kind of looking at it and saying, like, well, damn, just what they got going on their side and what builds them up, not just in the last few years and about what's trending and what we focusing and paying attention to, but things in a deeper sense, things that kind of go and build past where it is you are presently and kind of spotlight where it is you're going and where you've been, right? Like at the end of the day, it's important because if you don't know who it is has built up the foundation of what it is this house, so to speak, you walking into or going up against is, you'll never know. So like I said with the sports analogy, I'm not trying to repeat it again, it seemed long winded, but the point is the point. Is again, like it's not just about knowing the coach and what the quarterback doing and the offense doing this year or last 2 years. It's about knowing who the coordinator is and who the defensive coordinator is and where they came from before and who the scout is and what is the ideology of the entirety of this entity that we're going up against so that we can actually make the better, more motivated, more success oriented decisions in order to succeed. Not saying, well, I came from this spot and my struggle is this, so I don't really need to pay no attention to that. Because when it does turn around and it does bite us in the ass, as it always does, we always got to atone for that and acknowledge that that is what it is and acknowledge it for how it is, so to speak. And I just think that maybe in this day and age, maybe right now, that's something we just been running into constantly, right? Because I think to be so unsupportive of each other in our struggles, and again, like I think this about everybody, like I think people still lack the proper level of support and engagement and love giving back to what's going on with black people consistently and constantly in all realms and all places, especially in a situation where it's like, damn, well, you give what you get. And if you always giving out shit, then you're going to get shit back. Real love, real life, real talk, as they say. So again, when you look at it and you see how it plays out, it's like, well, damn, it's like, damn, well, the reality of it is that these folks ain't been showing love. These folks ain't been giving love. They haven't shown love to their fellow man. Oftentimes when they get into these other realms and these other places, instead of acknowledging and leaning into the fact that we all the same and we all come from a similar struggle, we all fighting against the oppression of what it is they just leading us and teaching us to think. So many groups of people, they ascribe to that. They lean into that. But again, it's not because necessarily 100% that they believe it, even though we know that it is. Excuse me, we know that it is a reality that there is a lot of belief into that. It's also because they see how we get treated. So you come over here and you looked across the world and you look through history. One of the biggest things the United States has done well is the conditioning. They make sure they tape is out there on the field. What you're not never gonna do is never not know who you playing against, who you playing with the United States. Give or take an either way, really. But I think it's just one of those things. Is you see a lot of people, especially like with this World Cup season, you're seeing a lot of, oh well, let's all band together, let's get together, the support for the sport against oppression. But again, a lot of the same people in the United States, they look down on the black folks and they separate themselves in a line with a lot of people because they don't want to be treated like how black people are treated. But you're my brother, you're my sister. When we need folks to get out on the street and hold the flag and get we're sprayed with the hose, the dog come out. So I just think like overall, probably when you head to this new phase, good morning, it's probably about also acknowledging that we all coming from levels of struggle, but it don't make us any better, anybody any worse. Um, you can be against this kind of oppression of this shit that I'm going through, or I can be against that shit that you're going through, and I don't gotta believe everything that you believe in, right? But I really genuinely think that that's one of the things that we missing out on is that the struggle was never gonna be real. The journey, that jihad, so to speak, for the people is never gonna be real if when you get away from that, you align yourself and treat yourself and carry yourself like the people who oppressed you. That's kind of like the whole point. I've always said, or not always said, but I've said for a few years now. I feel like um, the American way, realistically, is to carry yourself and talk and act like a white man. I don't believe that it's actually about life and liberty and justice for all. We should all love each other and all that because it ain't never been about that. If you can't see another person and understand that you can do harm to another person based on not acknowledging and prioritizing that you'll benefit from their demise or their struggle, and you'll always choose to benefit from their demise and their struggle over finding ways to get yours and make sure that we and everybody is in a position to get theirs. Now, if they squander their opportunities, that's it. We live in a world where people say a lot of people don't take advantage or don't do what they need to with opportunities that aren't there, that aren't valid, aren't authentic. Oh, 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 oh yeah, a little hopscotch. Oh, yeah, nice little hopscotch on the live. Y'all ain't about that life. And so I just think that, you know, it's terribly terrific to see how the things are playing out and how things are going these days because you always sit here and wonder to yourself, like, do we get it? Do we care? Or is it because, again, like so much shit with religion, which is one of the things that started me just on this thought process this morning, is like, man, how much is people using trying to save their soul as a motivation for being supportive, being a freedom fighter in these days and age in this time? Because, again, do these people truly fight them fights with their everyday man, with their next door neighbor, with the people around them? Do y'all really call out the pieces of shits and the bullies in y'all environments? Do y'all really like dissent and oppose and rabble rouse when you clearly see that the bullshit is there and the bullshit is up and the bullshit is intentional on making sure that you don't succeed? Or are you one of those people who tells the other people that don't make as much noise after you make sure that they talk that shit up? I can't stand yeah, man, here, go ahead, share all the shit that you think. All right, cool, yeah, 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 yeah. But then when it's time to go up there to the motherfucking what is that shit called, to the throne, and to call out the king and tell him you're a piece of shit, they can't go all the way up there with you. Hold on, wait, hold on, I gotta go get something real fast. You go up there and I'm gonna come meet you. And then again, when the decisions is made and everything changed, they the ones that's benefiting from the struggle that you're going through. Dang, that's crazy. Okay, I'm going to my next topic now. We should treat each other better, and people should definitely uh, acknowledge that. Again, we are going through a very, very similar struggle. I think one of my last points is that, again, it got to be a zero tolerance. People should definitely probably eventually get to the point where, like in government, I think as black people, as a black man, I can say it and I can spotlight it too because it's a real thing. It's hard for black people to get into politics and succeed because they always have the blackness of their skin on front street and display to be judged against them and held against them. But you never think about somebody who's like a little hat and how them being a little hat, they basically can, you feel me? Them being a little hat, they basically can turn around and like get into any type of government in any place around the world, and it's not really seen as or questioned or wondered or even expounded upon on what their cultural lineage is and religious lineage is. But we know now that there's a group of people on earth that feel like they're the chosen people. So if somebody that's a part of a group of the chosen people can blend in with everybody and get voted in, and they'll never really let you know that, again, also, I'm in politics based on what my political outlook is, but where my religion stands and my political outlook actually trumps where it is I'm coming from. Like, and it supersedes that. I think we would look up and acknowledge that a part of the reason why we going through and seeing a lot of shit that we seeing around the world is because these people are literally in every form of government all around the world, meaning they can control the decisions that's made, the action, the action and the inaction. So again, like if you look up and you see nobody doing nothing anywhere, not feeling like they need to do anything anywhere, not acknowledging that anything needs to be done anywhere. Well, wouldn't you believe that that means that all these people probably are affiliated and connected with them same people that you talking about? Probably, probably. But instead of actually like looking at it like that, people just look at it and they just do the all day, everyday thing. Well, the United States should. Why the United States? The United States the worst. You would think the United States is Israel, when in reality, Israel been ran, funded, and pushed, propped up by all the countries around the world. Vast majority. And again, even the countries that aren't pushing it up and propping it up in the sense that you think financing and supporting, they've been financing and supporting the ideologies and the thought processes that have kept people down for centuries, for decades now, excuse me. Right? Go look at who run entertainment. Go look at who run TV. Go look at who run a variety of media, and then go actually acknowledge that again, they control what people have thought. The same people that Ice Cube rapping about on his tracks and talking about, oh, they fucking up the community and fucking up the rap game and demonizing us and bastardizing us. That's the same people that control television and movies and media. That's the same people that control and run all professional sports leagues. They're running all the teams. Again, when you look up and that's the dynamic of what you got, and you got these people who can control what you enjoy, what you look at, what you think, and also can invoke you being made to feel bad for looking at a spade and calling a spade. If the color's black, the color's black. Why, when I call the color black, you say it's actually a mixture of brown and I don't know, insert what the fuck ever color, brown and blue. That's actually like no, that's not it. The shit is black. Why y'all continuously trying to tell me it's not? And then when I open up the conversation and say like, hey man, I got this shit wrong, and I answered the question wrong because you told me the color wasn't black, and the color was very clearly black, and I knew that. Now I'm oppressive, and now I'm hateful, and all of these other things. When also you spend time telling everybody, look at how many times they gonna get the color answer wrong because they're not smart, because they stupid, because they this, because they foul, in a variety of cultures, a variety of people around the world. This is a constant, consistent. So it just makes me think. I got 2%. I was gonna keep going on. Maybe I'll just keep going on until my phone dies. So yeah, that's actually. While we got 1% left. We're gonna go to this one, and we may just come back to this at a later time today. Uh, what's the beef between Latinos and Argentina? The history that you haven't been taught. Guess what? The same thing I was talking about. Notice how that clash and that conflict, and it's funny that it arises over soccer, which is so funny. That's why I say sports is like one of the greatest analogies to society, because you really kind of see how we feel and how people is feeling. But again, like within that, I just look at it and I feel like if you know history and you understand history, Argentina is basically Germany South in as many ways as they can be. And with soccer, that's one of the reasons why they're a superior sports program. They have the balance of the Latino soccer talent and passion for soccer with a German level of strategy, German level of physical um, lineage that comes into it. And they managed to be a successful program with all of those things less than mentioned. And right now, you're seeing the most European uh, looking Argentinian team probably ever. This team looks the most European and the least Latin probably you ever will ever see. And so again, I just think that this dynamic is a very, very interesting spotlight because you'll have Latino people come out, and it's a lot of folks was in the comments on this thing, and they was talking all about this and how they felt. You could even see some of them. We don't claim Argentina. That's a Mexican in the Colombian flag. Argentinians consider themselves Europeans, not Latin. People do know that many Nazi families went to Argentina, right? Not all, but most Argentinians have a colonizer mindset and they feel European. But again, like I said, the vast majority of people of those cultures got love for y'all. I love my Latinos. Y'all know I do. To a fault or to a win, doesn't matter. Fuck with them. Shout out to my Salvadorians. Shout out to my Mexicans. Shout out to my Guatemalans. Shout out to my Hondurans. All those. You feel me? I'm Honduran. Y'all ain't even know that. I'm Honduran. Black. You feel me? Filipino. I'm mixed. I'm all kinds of mixed up. Y'all ain't even know. Just mind your business.